Welcome to the Seeds of Wisdom series, brought to you by From a Loving Place with author Rachel Wolf. If you like deep, meaningful conversations, this is your place. So settle in and enjoy today's guest. Disclaimer: the Seeds of Wisdom digs into some deep subject matter. In order to plant a seed, we have to dig in the dirt. That's how we grow. If any of the subject matter feels like too much, it is important to seek your own mental health support. I did, and it's why I'm able to be here doing this today. Hello, and welcome to episode 29 of Seeds of Wisdom. I'm Rachel Wolf, and today's seed comes from my special guest, Jess Dewell.
Close. Dewell, like Jewel.
Okay, Dewell.
Yeah.
And the seed is the power is in the pause. And I can't tell you how excited I am for this because Jess and I did another podcast together, and she started talking about this, and I knew I wanted to go deeper on this with her right when she started going in, because I'm like, yes, that's the missing step that most people forget to talk about. Because it really is where the power lies, is in that pause. So with that, I'm going to let Jess introduce herself, and then we'll just jump right in so we can get the most out of this episode.
Oh, Rachel, thank you for having me on. I enjoyed where we met. And I have to say, I've been looking forward to this because not only is it near and dear to my heart, my gut loves it, and my brain comes along. And that is a huge piece of making sure that all of me is able to be present. And so that is a key cornerstone in the way that the work that I do comes together over time. And the large and small companies that I'm working with are seeking to achieve their biggest goals because they haven't been able to do it yet. And so the outcome that they're looking for is more than clarity. It's more than understanding. It's how the people that are making decisions, how the people executing the decisions, and how the people actually receiving the result of that work are impacted by those decisions. And it's messy, and it seems like it's supposed to go fast because we live in this world of instant gratification. Yet, what we find is the more we design up front, not only the quicker we go, but the more we see results and can make adjustments without having to backtrack or pivot as much.
Oh, such a good point. So how did you get to understand that the power is really in the pause?
Looking back, when I was preparing for our conversation today, it reminded me of a conversation I was having just last week. And I said, before you can burn a candle at both ends, you got to have a candle. Now, I don't recommend burning the candle at both ends, but we all do it once in a while. It's part of life. It's part of getting to our goals. We have to have that candle first. And the only way to have a candle is to decide, well, how much wax do I have? What kind of wax do I want? Do I want it to crackle when it burns? Do I want it to burn fast or slow? How thick? How many hours do I need this candle to burn? Those are the types of questions that when we decide and go, it's great when we're in a period of failing fast, learning, taking those learnings. It's not when we're actually trying to understand what have we learned from failing fast so that we have a strong foundation with which to go from solidly, connectedly, and being able to use that knowledge to be making more informed decisions. Because if we don't take our wisdom with us, we're starting over all the time. And it's great to be a beginner. We might as well take what we know with us and begin at a deeper level.
Yeah, yes. It's wonderful because when we can learn, that inner wisdom just shines brighter.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're like, oh, but that it is in the pause. It's
It is
not
in the
in
pause.
that. It's not in that. Go, 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 go.
That's right. Well, it's right. And we tend, this is an interesting thing, and we can say it, And people will be like, well, I've heard this a lot, and that's good because there's something to it. And if you're hearing it a lot, you're probably not doing it. And Rachel's podcast is the right place for you to be right now. And that is when we look at production, we have been conditioned that production is something we can see. The work we're talking about, from reflection, from celebrating wins, from choosing what to carry forward, does not show production. It shows inner strength. It shows inner confidence. It shows a skill set and a desire to think out of the box to get to where you want to go. Those do not have check boxes. They do not have immediate results. All of a sudden, one day you look back and go, oh, I'm actually here and I didn't even know it. Cool. That's what the pause is all about, because intentional action does create results. And it also allows us to adjust along the way. And then it's, oh, who knew how we got here? Well, we did it because we were intentional, even when it's accidental and lucky. I'm all about doing all the right things to be lucky.
Oh, that's great. So it just reminds me of like seeing like a stepping ladder or staircase. It's like just taking the step and just being on it. And that pause is being on the step.
Yes, to recognize, hey, this is where I'm at. Mm-hmm. Is it actually the start line? Is it actually the first lap around? Where am I in my marathon? All of the time. And you're absolutely right, Rachel, because what it allows us to do, and this is actually something that I do. I am very good at getting new ideas. I am very good at getting excited about all of the new ideas, even when those ideas don't need to be done by me. They're better done by somebody else. And it's in that pause that I've actually started, I collect them and I put them on. I'm a tactile, so I put them on sticky notes and I throw them in a little bin on my desk called Near and Now. And once a week, I go through them and I decide, of course, I'm excited about this. It made it to the bin that says Near and Now. Do we want to do this? Can we consider this in the work that we're doing at Red Direction? And then I could be like, nope, this one is not for me. And it comes out of that small bin and goes into the recycle bin. And because I have to choose consciously, and it's almost a little ruthless. So there's more in the pause than just being able to be present. It's also making decisions of what not to do as well as what to do.
Yeah. And when we're there, it's easier to be aware and look around.
Yes.
We can't look around if we're keep stepping.
That's right.
We're just focused on the next step. That's all we can focus on. And sometimes it's looking around going, is this the right step?
That's right. Or are we going to take it because it looks cool and it makes sense in this moment? And the answer could be yes, and it could be no, and both are great.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh.
Well, just yesterday I was hiking, okay? And when I hike, I go out and I like to be around the trees. So they're not like rigorous and they're not all day. So they're not 15 miles or 10 miles or anything like that. It could just be a couple of hours. It could be 4 hours. It doesn't matter. Yesterday was a short hike and I found this trail. By the way, I don't listen to music on hikes. I don't listen to audiobooks. I am out in the trees to be with the trees. I do have walks where I listen to that, and that's their purpose. Get some movement, get some exercise, get some creativity. They're in a different place. And when I go to the woods, it's another way to reflect and to slow down and to really see what's hanging out that needs to not be here, what's hanging out that actually needs to be called out, what's hanging out that's awesome that I haven't seen yet. And that's a huge piece of why I go out in the woods. And just yesterday, I was hiking and was walking on this little trail, and all of a sudden the trail was gone. Somehow I lost the trail. So I had to figure out, well, do I want to just backtrack? Well, that's not as fun. So I just kept going through the woods here, and now there was the trail, the big trail I wanted to get back to. So just worked my way right up there, to the point of always have choices, always can slow down. But the key being, it would have never occurred to me to keep going, knowing I might be closer to where I was going forward than going backward.
Love that. And I love that the intention, the walks with
Yeah.
intention, the different intentions for our walks. I mean, it's brilliant. I mean,
Well, yeah.
because it's like I never thought of it that way, but yes, I have that too, where it's like, what is this walk for?
Yes. That's
Um,
and it comes back to, am I burning the candle at both ends? Well, if I'm walking and I'm listening to something, it means I'm exercising and avoiding it at the same time, or I actually am trying to shift my energy or my mood or my mindset and I'm looking for inspiration. Or it could be like, ooh, I do want to take a walk, but I got to go super fast and I might as well listen to something else because I'd rather do that than listen to cars in the city.
so when you're get to a place of overwhelm,
Uh-huh.
what is
To the
your
trees.
to the tree?
To the trees. Yeah.
I
It,
love it. Okay.
and I actually have noise canceling headphones that I will also, if I can't get to the trees, right? If I only have 5 minutes or 15 minutes, I will put on noise canceling headphones and I will just put on some classical music or sit in silence and do a meditation without any extra noise to take a break, to literally unplug wherever I happen to be. That's actually why I go out in nature, and it is a regular cadence. If I get to the point of overwhelm where I'm called, there's a bigger thing to look at and reflect on, because I've been in overwhelm. I've seen the results of it firsthand. I've had to come back and overcome all kinds of physical challenges and mental challenges from being that overwhelmed, that this is now part of how I show up in the world so that I can be all in and everything in front of me can be my favorite, because I know how to regulate that for myself.
Well, and I love that you have these tools so that you know them before you're there. Because
Yes.
and
Yes.
it's something that's important to me too, is like I have a happy playlist. I have
Mhm.
a binaural beats playlist. I have meditation
Mhm.
play. I have all these different things for wherever I am, to know this is the energy I'm in and I'm not moving here.
Yeah. Yes.
These are the
Yes.
things that will help me move.
Uh-huh. Sure. And we all benefit from being in our body. There are a lot of quotes I've seen come across my radar. And now your audience will know, I study Stoicism.
Mhm.
I also believe in Ayurvedic principles, which I am nowhere close to being an expert or understand either yet, even though I've followed and read and studied for a long time. The thing that I take away from me is stillness really matters. And so everything that you've been talking about for the playlist for this and the thing for that, and then what we've been talking about together, really come down to, well, how do we get to stillness? And that's why I have some walks that I don't listen to anything else, because if I want to stop and sit or stand or hug a tree, all very common when I'm out when I'm out hiking, that is something that is incredibly, I would miss it, or I would be like, no, I'm doing this instead. And it would give me, well, an excuse to not slow down.
Do you have, for people who aren't in a place where nature is accessible,
Mhm.
do you have any suggestions for, like, when we have to get to stillness fast without having the time to like, if they don't have a place to go like that?
Yes. And and I live in the city, and so I have to get in a car and go out
Mhm.
to be able to get to trees and hikes and nature where there's sun pockets and lots of shade and whatever else I'm seeking. So I have plants all over my house. I am a horrible gardener. So the plants in my house have to be able to live on their own when I forget about them, because I know it's supposed to be a symbiotic relationship, and that's something I am still developing. Okay, fine. But I have plants all over, and I do, like you though, sometimes to get to stillness, it's a binaural beat. I really thought that was cool when you said that. I also have a series of them. Am I sleeping? Am I focusing? Am I trying to create? Do I just need to pause for a minute? I'm also a big fan of meditation when we can. And those noise canceling headphones of any kind are incredibly amazing to help remove all of the sounds we don't really know are around us when we need to get inside. And the only other thing I can think of is there could be exercise, because I do hot yoga in a studio, and it's the only place I cannot think about anything else. Otherwise I will fall over. And so I have to put all of my attention on this body so that I can do the stretch, so that I can build the muscle, so that I can stay balanced, so that I can hold a pose for a long period of time when the instructors are asking for it. And I laugh at myself a lot. And sometimes the instructors can see me almost cracking up. So they'll crack a joke so I can actually laugh, because I don't want to bother anybody else by laughing at myself in that whole moment. So finding something in the city that's an activity that totally consumes everything. It might be needlework. It might be drawing. It might be sitting with a cup of tea. Whatever it is where you can add even if it requires movement to get out of this brain.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you're talking about a lot of different things, because people are attracted to different things, and it's important to go with whatever gets you there.
Yes.
Because I'm not a fan of the should. Of you
I
should
am not
do.
either. Yeah.
But it's just having options. It's hearing someone say something that goes, oh, get the chills. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, that's it. That's the thing that would fit me. You know?
And you want to know the biggest challenge that I have found, Rachel, with any of this or with any of the other work, like if we're building businesses and stuff like that, the principles and the concepts and the ins from where we're coming from is the same. And that is, we must commit to the time. We must commit to the time. So it doesn't matter if I can't get to a trail to walk or hike. It matters that I take 5 minutes when I have 5 minutes, or when my body's saying, please give it to me, so that I can be better, so that I can stay grounded, so that I can stay present. Because if we're not listening to those and we don't prioritize taking the time to learn the habit, to hear when we actually need it, because we'll hear from ourselves if we choose to listen, we're doing ourselves a disservice. So I actually think the first step is, can you commit the time, even if it's just 5 minutes?
One of the things that I've learned to do with this, and it really helped me get out of my head, because I was feeling pressure from people talking about meditation. Like it felt like pressure.
Oh, meditation can feel very intimidating.
Yeah.
I agree.
And so someone was like, just consciously breathe when you're sitting on the toilet. Consciously breathe when you're in the shower. Consciously breathe and be there present when you're washing your hands, when you're doing the dishes, when you're doing the laundry. I mean, and so it was during COVID that, you know, as much as I knew the tool about mindfulness and staying present, and I loved the idea of hand washing for that. Because you have the smells from the soaps, you have the sensations of the feeling of the, you know, water and everything on your skin and the movement. But if you're present with it, you could be like you can just be there. And I got really used to making it a true practice during COVID. Having to wash my hands so much. But it just got me into that habit of going, this is a time I have where I can do this. When I'm washing the dishes, this is a time. You know, I've heard people doing it with eating chocolate, like really being present with that chocolate, you know, and absorbing it all. And I just love that idea, because it takes so much pressure off the bigger picture. To be in it.
And it's a skill we have to learn, and it's not a skill that is mainstream. We talk about it, but we don't do it. There is no modeling of this in our world today. It's up to us to be the model. So anybody who goes down this path is blazing a trail, and it requires courage. And the people around you and that are closest to you may actually be like, what you doing? And I'll tell you what, being the mom of an 11-year-old, I remember the time I would hide in the bathroom, and I would relish the time when I was going to the bathroom just because it was the only time I got by myself. And by the way, that is relatable to other things. And you said it, and I'm like, well, you know what I do? I have an Apple Watch. It has a mindful program. They have 2 1-minute things built in. So do I breathe or do I reflect? No problem.
I love that.
If I'm waiting for an elevator and it hasn't come for a minute, or right before I get in the car to drive someplace, I will, oh, I've got 1 minute right now. And it, by the way, it's a great way to transition from one to another. So if I'm running from something, getting in the car and going someplace else, I will pause for 1 minute. I'll turn on my 1 minute timer, and whatever thing, all of our devices that we travel with now have this 1 minute timer, and I'll just breathe. And it allows the one to end and creates basically a period in the sentence so that the next can begin.
Yes. Well, and it's amazing because it really doesn't take a long time to shift. We just have to
No.
give ourselves the time to shift.
Yeah, that's right. That's
I mean,
right. And
that
sometimes,
pause is like
yeah.
you said, it's a minute.
Uh-huh.
3 conscious breaths counting in, 10 out 10. And you could do it
That's
in
right.
that. You can
That's
break
right.
it down.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be so overwhelming. Be like, oh, I don't have time for the pause.
Oh, yes, you
And-
do. Check your
Exactly.
candle. That's all I got. Do you have one? How much is left of your 2 ends burning?
And no, and because we just can really tie ourselves up in
Yeah.
all our to-do lists and be completely lost in autopilot if we
Yeah.
don't give ourselves that
Well,
space.
and everybody talks about this concept of a North Star. And, my company name is actually called Red Direction. And it's that way because the point on a compass that's always going to magnetic north has a little red tip. And so it doesn't matter where we're going or what direction, where we turn, we always know where magnetic north is. To me, that north, North Star's great if you use that, but that north is, well, what's the most important to me? Is it to be present? Am I doing what I'm doing what I said I was going to do? Is it making sure I take care of myself? And those things must come first. And if they're happening, it doesn't matter which direction I'm turning. It doesn't matter which way I'm walking. It doesn't matter if I decide to backtrack or turn or go off the trail. It matters that I always know where I am because I have things I can pull on. And this pause is one of those things that has become part of my priority list.
With that, we are going to wrap up this first segment. So if you're listening anywhere but From a Loving Place on YouTube, and you want to hear the rest of this conversation, because I feel that this is going in a very good direction, go there now. It will be in the links to any other platform you're listening or watching on. Thank you so much for being here, because I truly believe if someone is listening to this, it's because it's exactly where they're meant to be. So let's take this one deeper, because I love what you said about the North Star and where it is in that direction. That pause really does help make sure we're staying in the direction of if we have a true intention or goal, it helps keep us aligned with that when we pause.
That's exactly right.
Because we lose sight of it.
That's right.
If we're just thinking of the next to do, we can lose sight and take a totally different direction that is a longer road. And hey, sometimes those scenic roads are wonderful, and we learn a lot from them, but sometimes we don't need to take them.
Yeah, and we do it against our inner sense. We've decided to ignore what our inner sense says.
And that's where the illness will start coming in, because we burn ourselves out and become depleted and worn out, and we stop following our passion.
Yeah, which is a big part. And the other thing too, with having something like this pause, this reflection, and I'll go back to it. I am horrible at celebrating success. I get it, and I immediately go to the next thing. I never go, well, what actually happened to make this successful? I'm getting better. So I can't say never anymore because it is something that I build in. I spend just a little tiny amount of time on it. It's something. It's a little more than a minute though. I have to tell you, I might have started that. Yep, that was good. What did I learn? No, I don't even know, but it was good. Okay. Because here's the thing. When something good happens, when we don't stop, we're missing a key piece. We know it was an accident because all the pieces just kind of fell into place from our intentional effort. In reality, the real success is it repeatable? And so, is it repeatable? So, if we have one success, I'm always like, what a grand experiment that turned out great. Can I repeat it? Do I want to repeat it? Does it make sense to repeat it? Now, if it's a service we're offering, if it's a way we're showing up in the world, if it's a skill we're building to get us to where we're going, and more reflection is a little necessary to go, here's what I think the key was. So now I'm going to follow those same steps with these 3 things as the focus, or 5 things, or whatever. Can you do it again? Are the outcomes the same? And if they're not, how cool is it that there's a range of success? And what was the difference between the two? Was I all on and plugged in because I had 100% energy? Did I have all the right resources? Was everybody on my team clear about what was going to take for all of us to get there together? These are the types of things that we don't have control over, which is why I say we're lucky. We only have control over ourselves, and we can set up the stage. We can decide what to pack. We can make sure we're aligned with where we want to be aligned to. And that's all we can do. So how do we do the things to repeat that success? And I actually think one success is great. And I think we hear a lot of that out in the world. I did this, so you can do it too. And I need to know these things because the only way somebody can help me make sure I actually get that success is to make sure all those variables are as known as possible.
I want to take it. You hit me with something in this, the communication aspect.
Yeah.
The power is in the pause when it comes to communication. Let's talk about that because that's a big one for any success of life, whether it be partnership at home, family, kids, success in career, all of it. In today's world, I feel like there's a lot of reactivity when it comes to communication instead of pausing.
It's true.
And being able to communicate where our heart is, or where our passion is, or where, and then being able to listen and respond instead of listen and react.
Yep. Oh, well, the first part is, are you actually hearing when you speak, am I actually listening to the words that you say, or do I catch myself automatically creating a response? Because if I take the first few words you say and start thinking about a response, it doesn't matter if I say I'm listening. I don't even know if I'm giving you respect. I'm letting you talk, but I already am trying to decide how I want to respond. And that's the quickest way to miscommunication and broken relationship. And the only way to get to where we want to go, regardless of our passion, is our ability to connect through communication. And in the pause that I take, so I have a weekly present retreat that I do. And it is a life and business thing. It is mostly business, where I'm looking at all of the things that must happen, the clients that we're working with, and deciding, what do we do now? What are our priorities at Red Direction? Where is our path going to go? And and when it's different than what has previously been communicated, I spend a lot of extra time. Is it right now? Do we have the resources? Is the team going to be able to shift easily? And regardless of easy or not, what it comes down to is, well, what's my real reason for making a decision and priority change? And can I communicate it in a way that they can understand too? Because if not, that's something that's out of my control, that I'm the only one that sees, and there'll be confusion, and they'll think it's less of a priority because they have competing priorities too in their work.
Gosh, so many good points in there. And it really, I love how it's when you talk, because this is so aligned with how I am too. It's I go within. I don't expect other people to do and change.
Yeah.
I have to see it. I have to feel it. I have to know what's mine. And what's it, like you said, what's in my control.
Yeah. Do you want to hear a weird total tangent story that happened to me just this weekend?
Love it.
Okay. I like to do puzzles.
Mhm.
My son said, Mom, you go through so many puzzles. By the way, it's the way I also can get brainless, get out of my head and into my heart and into my body because I don't think about anything. He goes, you go too fast. You can't look at about 3 years ago. You can't look at the box covers anymore when you're making these puzzles. Okay. So 2 puzzles since then, I've actually had to put away undone because I couldn't finish them. I pulled one of them back out because I'm waiting until I'm like, oh, I haven't found another puzzle I like. I guess I'll try this one again. I pull it out, start working on it. The sun comes in the window that I sit next to do these puzzles. I thought it was black and purple. Oh no, the sun illuminated. All the black pieces are black, dark gray, and green. I'm like, well, no wonder I couldn't do it. I didn't have the right light. And And so talk about, and why is this relevant? Because thinking about this, I immediately had 10 things show up in my mind. Had I only waited, had I only slowed down, had I only thought a little longer, had I committed to take the time it actually took.
We relieve so much suffering of ourselves. When we can do that.
I might actually be able to do this puzzle, Rachel.
Oh my
Ah!
gosh, what a great life analogy right there. Just all in that puzzle. It's awesome. Oh, Jess, thank you so much for this conversation. Before we wrap up, is there anything else left to say about the power being in the pause?
What we do is what we're prioritizing. And I think that that is a key important piece for us to look at. So in our pausing, to breathe, to change, to regroup, to reflect, whatever that is, as short or as long as it's made, taking a different kind of time to reflect, to pause and reflect. The actions that I took last week, how well did they align with what I have decided is important? And give yourself a rating. And when you do that, please don't sugarcoat it. Please don't wear rose-colored glasses. Please be real, because it's in the reality that we get better. And when we are better, we are more authentic. We can connect to other people at a much deeper level and be okay when things are messy and uncomfortable, because we can meet people in the uncomfortableness instead of trying to feel like we have to fix it or take it on or do any of those other things. So the pause, are we aligned to what is important to us? And making those tiny changes to making the actions we take align with what's important to us means everything else will be much clearer. Go, no go. Yes, no. Now, later, maybe never. Ah! So that would be a little bit of a challenge and a place to put this conversation into practical application. And it might take 20 minutes once a week to be able to do that.
And I have to say, this was also something you had mentioned in our Gold Chat Live podcast
Mm-hmm.
that we were on with
Mm-hmm.
Deborah Eckerling, that what we do is our priority. That has resonated so deep within me and like really made it easy for me to look at what I'm doing and saying, I'm making this my priority. Is this really what I want? Is this the direction I want to be going? And sometimes it, and sometimes even if it's binge watching a show after doing a ton of these interviews, yes, because I need that decompress. And it's
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
It's not beating myself up when I need that decompress time anymore.
That's
It's
right.
just asking myself that honest question. And it has helped me to move and shift too
Mhm. I'm
by
so
just
glad.
asking that question. And
Yes.
that's why it's like this whole topic, the powers in the pause. I needed the pause to be able to ask myself that question.
That's brilliant.
So this is why it was so important to have you on this show. So I am so grateful that you're here. I am so grateful for anyone who is listening to this. Know that truly, if you're here, if you're listening to it, it's because you're meant to be here and something in here is meant for you. And it's trusting that. And because I will tell you, I had no intention going into that last podcast with Jess and having this transformational moment in my life. So it's just trusting we are where you made this your priority today. You made this your priority by being here, and that is beautiful. So thank you, Jess, for being here.
Thank you for having me on the show.
And to all of you who are listening, thank you and have a great day. Make sure to follow the links that accompany this episode. You will learn a lot more about today's guest and see what they have going on now. You will also get all the links to follow them on their journeys if this seed resonates with you. Come back next week for another Seed of Wisdom. If you loved what you saw or listened to, don't forget to subscribe to the channel.